I won't lie to you, illustration is very competitive. But that's okay because we can beat the competition. Here's how. Hello everyone! It has been a while. Welcome to Our Business with Ness. I'm Ness and I'm a professional illustrator. Today we're talking about competition in the illustration market and specifically what we can do about it. So without any further ado, like, comment, subscribe, do all of the YouTube thing to help our channel grow, and let's just jump right into it. Now, competition is a very big problem. It's certainly an obstacle to overcome. But from what I've seen, illustrators tend to react to competition in one of two ways. The first way is trying to ignore it, just staying in our lane, doing our stuff, doing our illustration, and just not thinking about the competition at all. And the second way, unfortunately, is kind of giving up. A lot of artists just get so discouraged by the competition and everyone is so talented and how could I ever, so I'm not even going to try. And obviously, that's not a great approach, but even the first approach isn't a good idea. Neither approach is great. And that's because we have to be aware of what we're up against to formulate a good attack plan. At the same time, we can't focus on others too much that we become discouraged or distracted. So there's a healthy middle here, and that's being aware of what the situation is, but focusing on what you can control in the situation. Because competition is not an impossible obstacle. We can beat the competition, and the way to go is standing out. But that's easier said than done, especially because our instinct as human beings is trying to fit in, trying to do what everyone else is doing in order to succeed. We learn by imitation, and in a lot of ways this works great. But when it comes to standing out, you have to be apart from people. You have to be your own person. That can be very difficult. How do we do that if we can't take inspiration from others to imitate? In theory, standing out from the competition seems like a good thing. It seems like a no-brainer, but I've seen so many artists reach out to me and they are desperately trying to fit in without even realizing what they're doing. They write to me and they say something like, "Hi, I'm a watercolor artist. I'd love to become a children's book illustrator, but in order to do that, I would have to learn digital first." And my thought is, why would you have to learn digital? Why don't you just go and be a picture book illustrator as a watercolor artist? And you tell me, well, I see everyone else is doing digital art, so I have to do that too. It's such an ingrained instinct. Whereas when it comes to standing out, if you're doing something that everyone else is not doing, that's a good thing. It's a whole mindset shift to recognize that, because when you're doing something and you see that everyone else isn't doing the same, you start to doubt yourself. You start to think, I can't succeed in this field unless I'm doing what everyone else is doing. But when it comes to standing out, it means standing apart. You have to start thinking about what makes you different. And that could be many different things, many different categories. So here are some examples of some things that might make you different. First is your influences. Influences affect your taste, your styles, what you kind of lean towards. If you grew up obsessed with The Simpsons or if you grew up obsessed with Naruto, these are very different influences. I come from the generation of artists that was very, very influenced by manga and anime, and I think that's a great thing. However, there's a lot of us. So if your influences were something else, you often tend to have a more unique flavor to your work. The second thing that might make you stand apart is your favorite topics that you love to draw. Maybe in your field, everyone else is doing flowers and plants and cute decorative things, and maybe you like to draw people and character. As long as it still fits within your market, leaning into those topics that not a lot of people are doing can actually be such an advantage for you. A great example of that is in my market, surface design. There's a lot of women surface designers. We love to do feminine, frilly, pink things. I know I'm one of those. I love pink. I always love to do like very feminine, cute artwork. But in surface designs, a lot of companies also need more masculine, neutral, modern type artwork. For example, for boy birthdays or boy home decor. So if you have a surface designer who comes into this market and loves to draw robots, dinosaurs, and typically boy things, then that is a big advantage. It can make them stand apart from the sea of pink that me and the others are doing over there. Another way that you can stand out is your favorite colors. Of course, colors come and go with the season, the trends, but there's always artists who really love a certain color. Maybe it's mustard yellow, or maybe it's pink, but maybe yours is lime green. And if you have colors like this that are different than what everyone else is using, then maybe your work can stand out. Color is something that can be noticed at a glance. If you're in a bookstore and you see a picture book with a lime green color, it's immediately going to attract your eye. Another thing that could make you different is your culture or language. Maybe you think that if you want to work with these big American companies like Simon & Schuster's or the Times Magazine, that you have to blend in with the American culture. But if you come from another country, if you have another first language, then you have this cultural richness that you can bring with you that not everyone else has. If any company is working on a project that involves your culture, you would be first in line to get that job because you have a knowledge of this culture firsthand. That is a strength. If you speak the language, it allows you to work with companies in that country, obviously. My first language is French, so not only I can work with French, Canadian, local companies, but also in France, Belgium, Switzerland, any countries that also speak French. It's not always just one country. Like if you speak Spanish, there's so many countries where they speak Spanish. This can really be a great advantage. The other thing that can make you different is your strengths. What you are particularly good at drawing is something that you really want to lean into in order to stand out from the competition. For example, if you're really good at perspective and making these big sprawling backgrounds, well, that's a skill that not everyone has. It's very difficult. So if you can do this, definitely lean into that. Or it can be more specific. Are you really good at drawing horses or dragons? These are difficult things to draw that if you're able to do it well, you can stand out. And lastly, your biggest differentiator is your style. Your artwork style is your unique signature and what makes you different, memorable. So it's so important to have a signature style. I often hear from artists who tell me, I don't want to specialize in just one style. I love to draw a little bit of everything. I don't want to. But then what makes you different? If you can draw anything, you're just erasing everything that makes you special. When you have just the one style, people will associate this style with you and they will remember you. When you don't, you just don't stand out. And that's a very, very, very difficult thing to overcome in a market that is so competitive like ours. If you're someone who really likes to do all kinds of different styles and you're very resistant to just doing one, don't worry, you don't have to give up everything else. You can do another project outside of your illustration career that has a different style. Maybe you can open an art shop that uses a different style, or maybe you can do sketches for fun in your sketchbook that are in all kinds of different styles. It's not like you have to do one style for the rest of your life, but in this one area where you're looking for freelance illustration contracts, limit yourself to one style is really going to help you. You kind of have to decide, do I want to be able to make artwork in different styles, or would I like to be able to make a living from my art? Think about that. Specializing in one art style is one of the sacrifices that we have to make in order to be successful, but thankfully there's always, experimenting in our free time and using different styles for different projects, for other revenue streams. So we're never that limited in what we can do, but still, I know that it's difficult, but it's so worth it. Do it for your career. Now, when it comes to standing out, one of the difficult things to do is kind of the balancing act between your uniqueness, but also following the relevant trends. You do want to be able to fit in to one extent and do things that are trendy, that art directors are actively looking for right now, but still stand out enough that you're different from the competition. So how do we do that? The way that I personally see it is that trends are kind of more of a general thing. You can take a trend and then still kind of put your own spin on it and do the trend, but in your own unique way. For me, there are two different kinds of trends. I like to call them vibe trends and topic trends. So vibe trends are kind of like the generic look that people in your market might be looking for right now. Sometimes it could be something like very digital look or very modern look, or something more loose, organic. For example, in picture books right now, and for the past several years actually, there's been really a shift away from the very digital looks and into something that looks more natural, organic. We see a lot of texture, like hand-drawn, sketchy and naive styles. They like to see that it feels hand-drawn, almost like a children's drawing. So very loose, fun, sketchy styles is what we see a lot right now. So if you are in picture books, you can kind of adapt your style to that, make it in a bit of a sketchier way, maybe add some textures, but still do it in your own way, with your colors, with your type of line art, with your way to draw eyes or drawing hands. You can fit in the vibe while still retaining some elements that are unique to you, unique to your style. For topic trends, it's even more easy because it's just something that pops up that is really popular for a few years and then it goes away, and you can draw it using your own style. For example, a few years ago it was pineapples, or we had sloths before that. Sloths were everywhere. Right now we see a lot of bows everywhere, the coquette, very cute little frilly bows. We see that everywhere in surface design specifically, which is my market. So I can just continue drawing in my style and in all kinds of different themes, like Christmas or Easter. I can put in little bows everywhere, and that ensures that I will be part of the trend. I will be following what is really popular right now, but I'm still doing it in my way. I have a few more tips for you about how you can stand out from the competition, but just before we get into it, I have a question for you. Do you know what is special or unique about your art? What is different about your art? What is different about your style? It's something that's really great to start thinking about if you have never started thinking about it. So take a few minutes to kind of ask yourself these questions and then go in the comments and let us know what is the uniqueness in your style that not everyone else does. And it doesn't have to be something super groundbreaking, something that's never been seen before. Nothing is completely new. It could be a combination of things. Maybe you like to do vector art, but you put in watercolor textures on top. Neither of these things is unique, but the combination of them is. Or maybe it's something that is just not seen as often in your market. It's seen sometimes, but not as often. For example, maybe you draw in coloring pencils in the picture book market. So whatever it is about your art that is unique, please let me know. I would really find that fun. I'm very curious about what everyone here does for their artwork, and it's just a great thing to start thinking about it, because when you know what makes you unique, you can lean into that. So moving on, another thing that you can do to stand out from your competition is to really make sure to polish all of your relevant skills. And when I mean relevant skills, it's specifically the skills that are particularly relevant in your own market. So for example, if you're in picture book illustration, then storytelling is a big one. But if you're in surface design like me, then it's completely different. It's more about decorative, trendy, etc. There are some more generic skills that are needed in almost every market, and making sure that you're really good at every single one of those really helps your chances of being picked, because maybe you're really good at composition, but you suck at coloring. Well, if you learn both, then you're the full package and you have a lot more chance to be picked over someone else. So some skills that you can work on are composition, perspective, anatomy, lettering. Lettering is not necessary in every market, but if you're in surface design or in book covers, for example, very good to know how to do lettering, and not every artist knows how to do that. So if you're in one of those markets and your lettering sucks, I have some tutorials, I'll pop them up on the screen. Other skills to know also: lighting and shading, and of course coloring, picking a color palette, having enough value contrast in your illustration so it really pops. It can also be storytelling or conceptualization. Conceptualization means being able to take an abstract concept and putting it into a visual. So for example, how would you illustrate something like climate change or budgeting? You know, it's kind of abstract, but if you have to put it into an image, maybe you create some sort of visual metaphor to be able to express that concept. That's conceptualization. It's very, very important skills in editorial market. Other skills that are really important are originality and also understanding trends. Specifically in surface design, I see so many surface designers who don't keep up with trends at all, don't know how to recognize trends, don't care about trends. It is so important to know about trends in order to make sales, because art directors are looking to buy artwork that work into those trends. Also polish your business skills, your personal skills like communication, meeting deadlines, you know, organizing your time so that you're somebody really reliable to work with. Accepting critique well so that it's always smooth. The client never has to be scared about telling you the tweaks that they want. And even something like experience or industry knowledge. You might be thinking, well, I don't have experience, I can't help it. But you can. You can work on your own personal projects in order to gain experience. You can do some research to learn about the industry, or you can start working with small or local companies to gain some experience before you can start and hitting up those bigger companies. So this is something that you actually do have some control over, and it can help you build your experience so that you're more attractive to clients. So think about all of the skills that I just listed. Those are all things that you can acquire. You have the power in your hands to learn all of this. You can take classes, you can read books. There's so many resources now online that you can get for absolutely free. Tutorials to learn specific art skills. Platforms like Skillshare or Domestika are really great and affordable to have some classes and learn about things. Recently, a couple years ago, I really up-leveled my lettering skill by taking some classes on Domestika, and it was really life-changing for my surface design career. And when it comes to business skills, you can learn a lot by just watching videos on my channel, so you're in the right place. And lastly, my last tip to stand out from the competition is to put yourself out there. Reach out to companies directly. There are so many artists who are too afraid to reach out to them. So if you send emails to companies, you're already ahead of all the artists that haven't tried. And if the company you contacted didn't reply, don't just give up. Pitch again in a few months, try again and again. Many artists don't do that. They send just the one email and then they go away. So if you keep showing up over and over again, you have so much more chances to be picked than someone who dropped out of the race. Out of all the competition, be the one that persists. So many artists don't do that, maybe because they're afraid of competition or they've been burned before and they just don't want to put themselves out there anymore. Sometimes it feels like the artists who get the jobs are just so much more talented than us, and there's no way that we could ever have gotten a job. But in truth, very often, I want to say at least 50% of the time, the person to win the job is just simply the person that stayed in the race to the end and kept persisting. And that's something that you can do. So that's it for me today. I hope that you found my tips to stand out helpful. Don't forget to let me know in the comments what are the ways that you stand out as an illustrator. And if you're ready to put yourself out there and reach out to clients, I have a free guide that might help you. It's called 7 Surprising Ways to Find Illustration Clients. It is completely free, as I said, and I will leave the link to that in the description below. Alright, well, I really hope that you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to help our small channel grow. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye!